Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's Vanguard and watched the stars. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Today was the day humanity would meet aliens for the first time. The ship had been traveling for 3 months to reach this place in space where the alien message had told them to come. "Captain, we're getting a signal," said Amy Collins. She was the ship's communications officer and had been working with alien languages for years. Her voice was calm, but Jake could see worry in her eyes. "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The screen flickered and showed a massive ship. It was 10 times bigger than the Vanguard. The ship was black and covered with sharp edges. It looked like it was made for war, not peace. Jake had never seen anything so frightening. "This is Admiral Ziktar of the Galactic Empire," a voice said. The voice was deep and cold. "You are the humans who sent the message?" "Yes," Jake replied. "I am Captain Jake Morrison. We come in peace. We want to learn about your empire and maybe become friends." There was a long silence. Then the alien laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that made Jake's skin crawl. "Friends?" the alien said. "You think we want to be friends with you? You are nothing. You are insects. You live on one small planet in a corner of space that nobody cares about." Amy looked at Jake with fear in her eyes. This was not going the way they had hoped. The plan was to make contact, share some information, and start building a relationship. But the alien sounded angry and mean. "We may be small," Jake said, "but we are willing to learn. We have much to offer. Our science, our art, our culture." "Your culture?" The alien laughed again. "We have watched you for some time. You fight wars over tiny pieces of land. You pollute your own planet. You can barely travel to your own moon without killing half your crew. What could you possibly offer us?" Pete Rodriguez, the ship's engineer, was working at his station. He was trying to scan the alien ship, but their technology was too advanced. Every time he tried to get a reading, the scan failed. "Captain," Pete whispered, "their ship is showing power levels I've never seen. If they wanted to destroy us, they could do it in seconds." Jake nodded, but kept his eyes on the screen. He had to stay calm. The whole human race was depending on this meeting. "Look," Jake said to the alien, "we know we're not as advanced as you, but we're willing to learn. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves." The screen changed. Now Jake could see the alien. Admiral Ziktar was tall and thin with gray skin. His eyes were black and cold. He wore a uniform covered with medals and symbols that Jake didn't understand. "You want to be part of something bigger?" The alien asked. "You are not ready. You are not worthy. Your species is violent and stupid. You would only cause problems." "That's not true," Amy said. She stepped forward, her hands shaking but her voice strong. "Yes, we have problems. Yes, we sometimes fight. But we also help each other. We explore. We create. We dream of better things." The alien looked at Amy like she was a bug that had just spoken. "You dare to argue with me? You are nothing. Your entire species is nothing." Suddenly, the Vanguard shook. Alarms started going off. Pete's hands flew over his controls. "Captain, they're hitting us with some kind of energy beam," Pete shouted. "It's not trying to destroy us, but it's showing us how easily they could." The shaking stopped. The alien smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp. "That was a demonstration," Admiral Ziktar said. "A tiny fraction of our power. We could turn your ship into dust. We could turn your planet into dust. Do you understand?" Jake felt sick. He had come here hoping to make friends. Instead, he had found an enemy that could destroy humanity without even trying. "We understand," Jake said quietly. "Good. Now listen carefully. I am going to send someone to your ship. He will explain the situation to you. You will listen, and then you will leave. You will never come back to this part of space. You will never try to contact us again." A few minutes later, a smaller ship came from the alien vessel. It docked with the Vanguard. Jake, Amy, and Pete went to meet their visitor. The alien who came aboard was even bigger than Admiral Zektar. He was almost 8 feet tall with thick arms and legs. His skin was dark red and covered with scars. He wore heavy armor and carried weapons that looked like they could level a city. "I am Vorthik," the alien said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "I speak for the Empire. You will listen." Jake and his crew stood quietly. There was nothing else they could do. "Your species has been evaluated," Vorthik continued. "We have watched you for 50 of your years. We have seen your wars. We have seen your pollution. We have seen your cruelty. You are not fit to join civilized space, but we can change," Amy said. "We can be better." Vorthik looked at her with disgust. "You think you can change? You think you can become something other than what you are? You are predators. You are destroyers. You would bring chaos to the galaxy. So what happens now?" Jake asked. "Now you go home," Vorthik said. "You return to your little planet. You stay there. You do not build big ships. You do not explore beyond your system. You do not try to contact other species." "And if we don't listen?" Pete asked. Vorthik smiled. It was the most terrible smile Jake had ever seen. "Then we will come to your planet. We will burn your cities. We will destroy your fleets. We will turn your world into a wasteland. And then we will do the same to any other world where humans try to live." The alien walked closer to Jake. "This is your only warning. Run. Hide in your corner of space. Pray that we forget you exist. Because if we remember you, if you make us remember you, we will come. And when we come, there will be nothing left of your species but dust and memories." Vorthik turned and walked back to his ship. A few minutes later, the alien vessels disappeared, leaving the Vanguard alone in space. Jake looked at Amy and Pete. They all knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. But they had also learned that the universe was a much more dangerous place than they had ever imagined. "Set course for Earth," Jake said quietly. "We need to tell them what we've learned." As the Vanguard turned toward home, Jake wondered if they had just doomed their entire species. The aliens had told them to run and hide, but Jake knew humans. He knew that when someone told them to run, they usually did the opposite. The question was, would humanity's stubbornness be enough to save them, or would it be the thing that destroyed them? 6 months had passed since the Vanguard returned to Earth. The news of humanity's first contact with aliens had spread to every corner of human space. Some people were scared. Others were angry. Most were confused about what to do next. President Lisa Carter stood in front of the United Earth Council. The room was full of representatives from every human colony and settlement. Everyone was talking at once, their voices loud and worried. "Order! Order!" President Carter called out. The room slowly became quiet. "We all know why we're here. The aliens have given us a choice. We can hide in our corner of space, or we can face the consequences." General Marcus Stone stood up. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his face from old battles. "Madam President, we cannot let them threaten us. We are humans. We don't run from bullies." "But they're not bullies," said Dr. Helen Brooks. She was the head of the science division and had spent months studying the recordings from the Vanguard. "They're more advanced than us. Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. Fighting them would be suicide." "So what do you suggest?" asked General Stone. "That we just sit here and wait for them to decide our fate?" Dr. Brooks stood up and activated a holographic display. It showed the alien ship that had threatened Captain Morrison. We need to be smart about this. The Vanguard's crew managed to record some information about their technology. If we can study it, maybe we can find a way to defend ourselves. Defend ourselves with what? Asked Senator Bobby Clark from the Mars colony. We barely have enough ships to protect our trade routes. How are we supposed to fight an entire galactic empire? President Carter raised her hand for silence. Dr. Brooks, what exactly are you proposing? I'm proposing we do what humans do best, Dr. Brooks said. We adapt. We learn. We find a way to survive. The aliens think we're primitive, but that might be our advantage. They won't expect us to advance quickly. Meanwhile, on the frontier world of New Texas, Ben Tucker was having his own meeting. He was a colonist who had been living on the edge of human space for 20 years. He had seen the alien scout ships flying over his settlement for the past month. They're watching us, Ben told the group of volunteers who had gathered in his barn. Every day, they send small ships to look at our towns, our farms, our defenses. They're planning something. Kate Williams, a former Marine who had retired to New Texas, checked her rifle. So what do we do about it? We find out what they're up to, Ben said, and maybe we take one of their scout ships. Sam Davis, the settlement's engineer, looked worried. Ben, that's crazy. Those ships are way more advanced than anything we have. Maybe, Ben said, but they're small, and they're not expecting us to fight back. The aliens think we're going to run and hide. Let's show them they're wrong. That night, Ben's group waited in the hills outside the settlement. Kate had found the perfect spot where the alien scouts always flew low to get a better look at the town. They had set up a trap using mining explosives and heavy cables. There, whispered Kate, pointing to the sky. A small alien ship was approaching, its blue lights glowing in the darkness. Wait for it, Ben said. Wait until it's right over the cables. The alien ship flew lower, scanning the settlement with beams of light. It was only 50 feet above the ground when Ben triggered the explosives. The blast damaged the ship's engines. It crashed into the hillside, sending up clouds of dust and smoke. Ben and his team rushed to the wreckage. The alien pilot was still alive, but badly hurt. It looked like Admiral Zektar, but smaller and younger. Its gray skin was burned and green. Blood was leaking from cuts on its arms. You fools, the alien said in broken English. You don't know what you've done. The Empire will come for you. Let them come, Kate said. We'll be ready. Sam was already examining the ship's technology. Ben, you need to see this. Their computers are still working. We might be able to learn something. They loaded the alien and its ship onto trucks and took them to a hidden cave in the mountains. For the next 3 days, Sam worked to understand the alien technology while Ben and Kate questioned the pilot. Why are you watching us? Ben asked. The alien, who said his name was Krell, looked at them with hatred. We are preparing. The Empire has decided that humans are too dangerous to be left alone. Dangerous? Kate laughed. We're farmers and miners. How are we dangerous? You don't understand, Krell said. The Empire has rules. Species that refuse to obey are destroyed. You were given a warning. You should have listened. What warning? Ben asked. Your ship, the Vanguard. Admiral Zektar told your people to run and hide. Instead, you are building new ships. You are spreading to new worlds. You are not obeying. Ben felt a chill run down his spine. So you're planning to attack us? The Empire is gathering fleets, Krell said. Soon, they will come to your home system. They will destroy your military. They will burn your cities. They will make sure no human ever travels to the stars again. Sam called Ben over to the alien ship. Ben, you need to see this. I've been reading their computer files. Krell isn't lying. The Empire has done this before. They've destroyed dozens of species. The computer showed images of dead worlds. Cities turned to ash. Fleets of ships destroyed in space. Empty planets where millions of people had once lived. My God, Ben whispered. They're planning to commit genocide. Not just genocide, Sam said. According to these files, they've been doing it for thousands of years. Any species that doesn't submit to their rule, it's wiped out completely. Ben made a decision. We need to get this information to Earth. The government needs to know what's coming. How? Kate asked. The nearest communication relay is a week away. Then we'll have to make the trip, Ben said. This is too important to wait. They loaded the alien computer data onto their fastest ship and prepared to leave New Texas. But as they were getting ready to go, more alien ships appeared in the sky. They're looking for their missing scout, Sam said, watching the ships through binoculars. Let them look, Ben said. By the time they figure out what happened, we'll be halfway to the relay station. As their ship lifted off, Ben looked back at his home. He had spent 20 years building a life on New Texas. Now he was leaving it, behind to warn humanity about a threat that could destroy them all. Do you think Earth will listen? Kate asked. They have to, Ben said, because if they don't, we're all dead. The alien ships continued searching the planet below, but they were too late. The information about the Empire's plans was already on its way to Earth. Soon, humanity would know the truth about their new enemies. The question was, would they have enough time to prepare? Back on Earth, President Carter was meeting with her advisors when the message from New Texas arrived. As she read the report, her face became pale. General Stone, she said, I think you're right. We can't run from this. We have to fight. What changed your mind? The general asked. The aliens aren't just threatening us, President Carter said. They're planning to destroy us completely, and they've done it before to other species. We're not the first, and we won't be the last unless we stop them. Dr. Brooks looked at the alien computer data. This changes everything. If we can understand their technology, we might have a chance. How long do we have? Asked General Stone. According to this intelligence, the Empire is gathering its fleets now. They'll be here within 2 years, President Carter said. We need to prepare for war. The meeting went on for hours. Plans were made. Resources were allocated. Messages were sent to every human colony and settlement in space. Humanity had been warned to run. Instead, they were going to fight. The question was, would it be enough? 2 years later, the aliens came. Fleet Commander Zephon sat in his command chair aboard the massive Imperial warship Devastator. Around him, hundreds of alien ships moved through space toward Earth's solar system. He was expecting an easy victory. Most species surrendered when they saw the size of an Imperial fleet. Commander, said his communications officer, we are approaching the human home system. Good, Zephon replied. Send the surrender message. Tell them they have 1 hour to give up their weapons and submit to Imperial rule. But as the Imperial fleet moved closer to Earth, Zephon began to see something that surprised him. The humans had not been sitting quietly for the past 2 years. They had been building. Sir, said the tactical officer, I'm reading multiple defensive positions throughout the system. They've turned asteroids into weapon platforms. Their space stations are armed with missile launchers. Zephon studied the display. The humans had created a network of defenses that covered their entire solar system. It was crude compared to Imperial technology, but it was much more than he had expected. And their fleet? He asked. 73 ships, sir. Most are converted civilian vessels. But they're all armed. Admiral Grace Mitchell stood on the bridge of the UESA Defiance, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. Around her, The human fleet was taking positions near Earth's moon. She had been preparing for this moment for 2 years. Admiral said, "Her tactical officer, the alien fleet is massive. We count over 300 ships." "Size isn't everything," Grace replied. "We know this system better than they do. We've had time to prepare, and we have something they don't expect." "What's that, ma'am?" Grace smiled. "We have nothing to lose. They want to destroy us completely. That means we fight until the last." Ship is gone. The Imperial surrender message came through on all human communication channels. Zephan's voice was cold and commanding. "Humans of Earth, you were warned 2 years ago to stay in your system and avoid contact with the galaxy. You have not obeyed. You have continued to build ships. You have continued to expand. Your species is sentenced to extinction. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Grace opened a channel to reply. "This is Admiral Grace Mitchell of the United Earth Fleet. We received your message. Here's our answer. Come and take us." The battle began 30 minutes later. The Imperial fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their weapons charging. They fired the first shots, beams of energy that could destroy a city. But the humans were ready. "All ships, scatter formation," Grace ordered. "Don't let them hit multiple targets." The human fleet broke apart, each ship moving in a different direction. The Imperial energy beams missed most of their targets, hitting only empty space. "Return fire!" Grace shouted. The human ships opened fire with everything they had. Missiles, railguns, and energy weapons filled the space between the two fleets. The Imperial ships had better shields, but the humans had more weapons per ship. Captain Ryan Hughes led a squadron of fighters from the carrier U.S. Liberty. His small ships were fast and hard to hit. They dove through the Imperial formation, firing at the larger ships' weak points. "This is Lightning Squadron," Ryan said over the radio. "We're making our attack run on the Imperial flagship." "Copy." "That Lightning Squadron?" Grace replied. "Give them hell." Ryan's fighters dodged through the enemy fire, their small size making them difficult targets. Several were destroyed by the Imperial defenses, but the rest kept coming. Weapons armed. Ryan said to his wingman, "We're going to ram the bridge." "Are you crazy?" his wingman asked. "Probably," Ryan said. "But if we can take out their command ship, it might give us a chance." The fighters screamed toward the Devastator at full speed. Imperial point defense weapons tried to stop them, but 3 fighters made it through. They crashed into the command. Bridge in a ball of fire and explosion. Commander Zephan was thrown from his chair as his ship shook from the impact. Emergency lights flashed red, and alarms blared throughout the ship. "Damage report," he shouted. "Sir, the bridge is heavily damaged. We've lost main communications and tactical control." Zephan couldn't believe it. The humans had actually damaged his flagship. No species had ever been desperate enough to use suicide attacks in space combat. "Transfer command to the secondary bridge," he ordered, "and send the message to all ships. Destroy everything. No prisoners." On Mars, Commander Lisa Park was coordinating the planet's defenses. The red planet had been turned into a fortress with underground bunkers and surface missile batteries. "Commander," said her communications. "Officer, we've got Imperial ships breaking through the outer defenses. They're heading for the surface." "How many?" Lisa asked. 12 ships, ma'am. They're going to try to land troops." Lisa activated the planetary defense system. Hidden missile launchers rose from the Martian surface, firing at the approaching ships. The first wave of missiles was destroyed by Imperial defenses, but the second wave got through. 3 alien ships were destroyed before they could land. The rest made it to the surface and began deploying troops. "All ground forces, this is command," Lisa said. We have hostile landings in Sectors 7, 12, and 15. Engage and destroy. The battle for Mars was different from the space battle. On the ground, the humans could use their knowledge of the terrain. They knew every canyon, every cave, every tunnel in the colony areas. The Imperial troops were better equipped and better trained, but they were fighting on an alien world against desperate defenders. The humans used guerrilla tactics, hitting the aliens and then disappearing into the underground tunnels. Back in space, the battle was not going well for humanity. Despite their brave resistance, the Imperial fleet was slowly winning. Human ships were being destroyed faster than they could replace them. "Admiral," said Grace's tactical officer, "we've lost 30 ships. The aliens are pushing toward Earth." Grace looked at the tactical display. The Imperial fleet was still huge, while her fleet was getting smaller by the minute. But she noticed something. "Look at their formation," she said. "They're bunching up as they move toward Earth. They're not expecting us to have any more surprises." "What are you thinking, ma'am?" Grace smiled. "I'm thinking it's time to show them what humans do when we're backed into a corner." She opened a channel to all human ships. "All vessels, this is Admiral Mitchell. Execute Operation Desperate Measures." Repeat, execute Operation Desperate Measures. Throughout the human fleet, ships began changing course. Instead of fighting defensively, they were now charging straight at the Imperial fleet. "Are they surrendering?" asked Zephon's tactical officer. "No," Zephon said, watching the display. "They're attacking. All ships, prepare for close combat." But the humans weren't just attacking. They were using their ships as weapons. Damaged human vessels rammed Imperial ships, causing explosions that destroyed both attacker and target. "They're insane," said an Imperial officer. "They're destroying their own ships." "No," Zephon said quietly. "They're fighting for their species. Survival. They'll do anything to stop us." The battle raged for 6 hours. When it was over, most of the human fleet was destroyed. But the Imperial fleet had also taken heavy damage. They had lost almost a third of their ships to an enemy they thought would be easy to defeat. Zephon looked at the battlefield. Burning ships drifted through space. The humans had fought harder than any species he had ever encountered. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we are receiving a message from Earth." "Put it through," Zephon said. Admiral Grace Mitchell's face appeared on the screen. Her uniform was torn, and she had blood on her face, but her eyes were still full of fight. "This is Admiral Mitchell. I suppose you think you've won." "Your fleet is destroyed," Zephon replied. "Your defenses are broken. Surrender now, and we might spare some of your people." Grace laughed. "Spare us? You came here to commit genocide. You've already told us you plan to destroy our entire species. So why would we surrender?" "Because you have no choice." "We always have a choice," Grace said. "We can keep fighting. We can make you pay for every mile of space, every planet, every city. You might win in the end, but it's going to cost you." Zephon ended the transmission. He looked around his damaged bridge and thought about the battle. The humans had been defeated, but they had fought with a courage he had never seen before. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "the remaining human ships are retreating to the outer system." "Orders?" Zephon paused. His orders were to destroy all human military forces and then attack their planets. But his fleet was damaged, and his crews were shaken. The humans had proven they were not the easy targets the Empire had expected. "Pursue them," he said finally, "but be careful. These humans are more dangerous than we thought." As the Imperial fleet regrouped and prepared to continue the attack, Admiral Grace Mitchell was already making new plans. The first battle was lost, but the war was far from over. The Empire had learned something important about humanity that day. When humans were told to run, They fought instead. When they were outnumbered, they fought harder. When they were facing extinction, they fought with everything they had. The question was, would it be enough to save them? After the battle at Earth, humanity changed its strategy. They could not win in direct combat against the Empire's massive fleets, but they could do something else. They could make the Empire's life very difficult. Captain Alex Turner stood in the cargo bay of the U.E. Shadow, a ship that had been built for stealth and speed. His crew was small but skilled. They had been attacking Imperial supply lines for 6 months, and the Empire was starting to notice. "Captain," said Tony Garcia, "the ship's demolitions expert. The Imperial convoy is right on schedule. 3 cargo ships with 1 escort." "Perfect," Alex replied. "Emma, are you ready?" Emma Stone, their infiltration specialist, checked her stolen Imperial uniform. "I've been studying their language and customs for months. I can pass as one of them for a few hours." The plan was simple but dangerous. Emma would board one of the Imperial cargo ships, pretending to be an inspector. She would plant explosives throughout the ship while Alex and his team attacked from outside. "Remember," Alex said, "we're not just trying to destroy their supplies. We want to send a message. The Empire thinks they can occupy human space without consequences. We're going to show them they're wrong." The Shadow moved silently through space toward the Imperial convoy. The enemy ships were huge, carrying enough weapons and supplies to equip an entire army. But they were also slow and poorly defended. "This is Inspector Veltar," Emma said into her communicator, using the alien language. "I need to board your ship for a routine inspection." "Copy that, Inspector," came the reply. "Docking Bay 2 is open." Emma's shuttle approached the Imperial cargo ship. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. She had done this many times before, but it never got easier. The Imperial crew that met her at the docking bay looked bored. They were not expecting trouble in their own territory. "Inspector," said the ship's captain, "what brings you out here?" "Orders from High Command," Emma replied. "There have been reports of human sabotage in this sector. I need to check your security measures." "Of course. Follow me." As Emma toured the ship, she secretly placed small explosives in key locations. The Imperial crew paid no attention to her. They were too busy complaining about their assignment. "I don't know why we're still here," one soldier said. "The humans are beaten. Their fleet is destroyed. Why don't we just finish them off?" "Because High Command wants to make an example of them," another replied. "They want other species to see what happens when you resist the Empire." Emma finished her work and returned to her shuttle. As she flew back to the Shadow, she sent a signal to Alex. "Package delivered," she said. "Get ready for fireworks." The Shadow moved into attack position. On Alex's signal, Tony triggered the explosives that Emma had planted. The Imperial cargo ship exploded from the inside, sending debris flying in all directions. "All weapons fire," Alex ordered. The Shadow's guns opened up on the remaining convoy ships. The Imperial escort tried to respond, but the human ship was too fast and too small to hit easily. Within minutes, the entire convoy was destroyed. Empire had lost another shipment of weapons and supplies intended for their occupation forces. "Good work, everyone," Alex said. "Let's get out of here before the reinforcements arrive." The Shadow disappeared into hyperspace, leaving only wreckage behind. It was a small victory, but it was part of a larger strategy. Across human space, other teams were conducting similar attacks. On the occupied world of Kepler 442b, the situation was different. The Empire had landed troops and taken control of the major cities. But the human colonists had not given up. Diana Ross was not a soldier. She had been a teacher before the war. Now she was leading a resistance movement that was making life vary. difficult for the Imperial occupation forces. The patrol route has changed again, said Matt Johnson, a combat engineer who had been building improvised weapons from salvaged Imperial technology. They're trying to make their movements unpredictable. It doesn't matter, Diana replied. We know this planet better than they do. We can still hit them. The resistance meeting was taking place in an abandoned mine outside the city. 20 volunteers had gathered to plan their next operation. What's the target? Asked Sarah Kim, a former police officer who had become one of Diana's best fighters. The communications center, Diana said. If we can destroy it, the Imperial forces on this planet will be cut off from their fleet. That's a heavily defended position, Matt said. How do we get close enough? Diana smiled. The same way we've been getting close to everything else. We use the tunnels. The colonists had spent years building underground tunnels to connect their settlements. The Empire knew about some of them, but not all. The Resistance had been using the hidden passages to move around the planet unseen. Matt, how many of your special bombs do we have? Diana asked. Enough to bring down the communications center, he replied. But we'll need to get them right to the base of the main antenna. I can do that, said Sarah. I've been watching the guard patrols. There's a 15-minute window when the north side is unguarded. That night, the Resistance put their plan into action. They moved through the tunnels until they were directly under the Imperial Communications Center. Then they emerged in the middle of the enemy base. Remember, Diana whispered, we're not trying to defeat their entire garrison. We just want to destroy their communications and get out. The team split up. Sarah and 2 others headed for the main antenna, while Diana and the rest created a distraction on the other side of the base. Human resistance fighters in Sector 7, Imperial troops shouted. All units respond. While the aliens were busy chasing Diana's group, Sarah reached the communications tower. She placed Matt's improvised explosives at the base of the structure and set the timer. This is for all the people you've killed, she said quietly. The explosion lit up the night sky. The communications tower collapsed in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. The Imperial base was suddenly cut off from the rest of their forces. Fall. Back, Diana ordered. Everyone to the tunnels. The Resistance fighters disappeared underground before the Imperial reinforcements could arrive. It was another small victory, but it was part of a pattern that was spreading across the galaxy. General Krexter stood in the command center of the Imperial occupation force and looked at the reports coming in from across human space. The news was not good. Sir, said his aide, we've lost another convoy in the Tau Ceti system. The humans are using hit-and-run tactics across 12 different star systems. How many ships have we lost this month? Krexter asked. 47, sir. And that's just the ones we know about. Krexter studied the tactical display. Red marks showed where Imperial forces had been attacked. There were too many to count. What about the occupied planets? The resistance movements are growing stronger. On Kepler 442b, they just destroyed our main communications center. On Ross 128b, they ambushed one of our patrols and captured advanced weapons. And our troops? The aide hesitated. Morale is low, sir. The soldiers were told this would be a quick occupation. They didn't expect to be fighting a guerrilla war. Krexter walked to the window and looked out at the human city below. The streets were empty except for Imperial patrols. The humans had learned to avoid the aliens during the day and strike at night. These humans are different, he said. Most species surrender when they realize they can't win. But the humans just keep fighting. Sir, said the aide, maybe we should request reinforcements. Or perhaps we could negotiate with the human leadership. Krexter laughed bitterly. The human leadership is scattered across 100 different worlds. Every resistance cell operates independently. There's no central command to negotiate with. Then what do we do? We keep fighting, Krexther said. But we also send a message to High Command. This occupation is not going according to plan. Meanwhile, on a hidden base in the asteroid belt, Admiral Grace Mitchell was coordinating the human resistance. She had survived the battle at Earth and was now leading what remained of the human fleet. Admiral, said her intelligence officer, we're getting reports from resistance cells across the galaxy. The Empire is starting to crack. Grace looked at the star map showing human space. Red dots marked Imperial positions, while blue dots showed resistance activity. There were more blue dots every day. What kind of reports? She asked. Morale problems in the Imperial fleet. Supply shortages. Some of their units are requesting transfers back to the core worlds. Grace smiled for the first time in months. Good. We're making them pay for every day they stay in our space. There's something else, the officer continued. We're getting signals from other species. The Empire has been oppressing them for years, but they never had the courage to fight back. Now they're seeing what we're doing, and they want to help. What kind of help? Intelligence, mostly. Information about Imperial ship movements and base locations. Some of them are even offering to provide weapons and supplies. Grace felt a spark of hope. Humanity had been fighting alone against the Empire, but maybe they didn't have to anymore. Set up secure communication channels with these other species, she ordered. Let's see what they can tell us about our enemies. Back on the Shadow, Captain. Alex Turner was planning his next mission when an unexpected message arrived. Captain, said Amy Collins, who had transferred to his ship after the Vanguard wound. 3 years had passed since the Empire first attacked humanity. What began as a simple conquest had turned into the largest rebellion in galactic history. The Empire was no longer fighting just humans. They were fighting half the galaxy. Admiral Scott Murphy stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, the flagship of the new human fleet. Around him, ships from dozens of different species moved in formation toward the Imperial capital system. It was the largest combined fleet ever assembled. Admiral, said his tactical officer, we're approaching the outer defenses of Zentara Prime. Scott looked at the display showing the Imperial homeworld. It was surrounded by massive space stations and defensive platforms. The Empire had been building these defenses for 1,000 years. How many ships do they have? Scott asked. Our scouts report 800 Imperial vessels defending the system. But our intelligence says many of their crews are from conquered species who might not fight very hard. Scott nodded. The rebellion had spread so far that even the Empire's own forces were no longer reliable. Many Imperial soldiers were secretly helping the resistance. Signal the fleet, Scott said. All ships prepare for battle. Today, we end this. War. On the planet below, Emperor Valdris sat in his throne room and listened to the reports from his generals. His empire was falling apart, and he couldn't understand how it had happened so quickly. Your Majesty, said General Krexther, the rebel fleet has entered our system. They outnumber our forces 2 to 1. How is that possible? The Emperor demanded. 3 years ago, the humans had barely 70 ships. Now you tell me they have thousands? They're not all human ships, Your Majesty. The rebellion has spread to dozens of species. Many of our former subjects are now fighting against us. The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was tall and imposing, with silver skin and glowing red eyes. For 1,000 years, his empire had ruled the galaxy through fear and overwhelming force. This is impossible, he said. No species has ever successfully resisted us. How can these primitive humans have caused so much trouble? Because they never learned to fear us, Krexther replied. When we told them to run, they fought instead. When we defeated their fleet, they started a guerrilla war. When we occupied their planets, They inspired others to rebel. Meanwhile, Victoria Long was coordinating with alien resistance movements. From her command ship, she had become the human expert on working with other species, and she was very good at her job. "Victoria," said Pack Leader Theron over the communication system, "my people are ready to attack the eastern defense platforms." "Copy that, Theron," Victoria replied. "The Crystalline Federation will hit the northern platforms at the same time. Remember, we want to disable them, not destroy them. We'll need those stations after the war." "Understood. What about the Imperial fleet?" "Leave them to us," Victoria said. "The humans have a special plan for dealing with the Imperial Navy." Captain Derek Webb was preparing for the most dangerous mission of his life. His ship, the UE Sacrifice, was loaded with enough explosives to destroy a small moon. His job was to break through the Imperial defenses and create a gap for the main fleet. "Captain," said his engineer, "the explosives are armed. We're ready." For the final run, Derek looked at his crew. They were all volunteers who knew this was likely a one-way mission. But they also knew that their sacrifice might end the war. "It's been an honor serving with you all," Derek said. "Let's show the Empire what humans are willing to do for freedom." The sacrifice accelerated toward the Imperial defense line. Enemy fire filled the space around the ship, but Derek kept it on course. His shields failed, his hull was breached, but still he kept flying. "Almost there," Derek said. 10 seconds to target. The sacrifice crashed into the main shield generator, protecting the Imperial fleet. The explosion was visible from across the solar system. The Imperial shields collapsed, leaving their ships vulnerable to attack. "Now," Admiral Scott ordered, "all ships attack." The combined rebel fleet surged forward through the gap that Derek had created. Human ships fought alongside Wolven destroyers, crystalline carriers, and vessels from dozens of other species. Battle was fierce but short. Many Imperial ships tried to fight, but others surrendered as soon as the rebels got close. Some Imperial crews even turned their weapons on their own commanders and joined the rebellion. "Admiral," said Scott's communications officer, "we're receiving a surrender message from the Imperial flagship." "Put it through," Scott said. The face of Fleet Commander Zephin appeared on the screen. He looked tired and defeated. "Admiral Murphy," Zephin said, "I wish to surrender my remaining forces. This war has gone on long enough. What about your Emperor?" Scott asked. "Emperor Valdris refuses to surrender. He's barricaded himself in the palace and says he'll fight to the death." Scott looked at the planet below. The orbital battle was over, but there was still one more job to do. "Admiral Murphy to all ground. Assault teams," he said, "prepare for planetary invasion. We're going to end this once and for all." The landing was easier than expected. Most of the Imperial ground forces surrendered without fighting. The only resistance came from the Emperor's personal guard at the palace. Jake Morrison, now a general, led the final assault on the Imperial palace. It felt strange to be back where the war had started. He was the same man who had made first contact with the Empire 3 years ago, but everything else had changed. "General," said his aide, "we've reached the throne room. The Emperor is inside with his remaining guards." Jake pushed open the massive doors and walked into the throne room. Emperor Valdris was waiting for him, still sitting on his golden throne. The alien ruler looked older and smaller than Jake had expected. "So," the Emperor said, "the primitive humans have come to kill me." "We're not here to kill you," Jake replied. "We're here to accept your surrender." "Surrender?" The Emperor laughed. "I am the ruler of 1,000 worlds. I do not surrender to insects." "Your empire is gone," Jake said. "Your fleets are destroyed. Your subjects have joined the rebellion." "It's over." Emperor Valdris stood up slowly. "You think you have won? You think you can rule the galaxy better than I did? We don't want to rule the galaxy, Jake said. We want to free it. Free it? The Emperor looked confused. What does that mean? It means every species gets to govern itself. It means no more slavery, no more forced tribute, no more destroying entire civilizations because they refuse to obey. The Emperor stared at Jake for a long moment. That's impossible. Someone must rule. Someone must maintain order. Then let the species work together to maintain order, Jake said. Let them choose their own leaders and make their own decisions. You're naive, the Emperor said. The galaxy is full of primitive, violent species. Without the Empire to control them, there will be chaos. Jake smiled. Maybe, but it will be their chaos, not yours. Emperor Valdris looked around his empty throne room. His guards had already surrendered. His empire was gone. His 1,000-year reign was over. What happens to me? He asked. That's up to the new Galactic Council to decide, Jake said. But you'll live. We're not the Empire. We don't destroy people just because we can. 6 months later, representatives from hundreds of species gathered on a neutral world to form the new Galactic Federation. The meeting was chaotic and loud, with dozens of different languages being spoken at once. But it was also hopeful. Captain Morrison, now an elder statesman, addressed the first session of the Galactic Council. 3 years ago, he said, the Empire told humanity to run and hide. They said we were too primitive and violent to be part of galactic civilization. They were wrong about one thing and right about another. The audience listened quietly. They were wrong about us being too primitive. We proved that any species, no matter how small or weak, can fight for freedom if they have the courage to try. Applause filled the chamber. But they were right about one thing. We are violent. When someone threatens our family, our friends, our freedom, we will fight. And we will keep fighting until the threat is gone. More applause. The Empire thought. That made us dangerous. I think it makes us perfect guardians of freedom. Because freedom isn't free. It has to be defended. And if anyone ever tries to take it away again, they'll learn the same lesson the Empire learned. Jake paused and looked around the room at the representatives of hundreds of species. The Empire told us to run. We fought instead. They told us to surrender. We inspired others to rebel. They told us we were nothing. We became everything. The final message from the Empire was broadcast across the galaxy that day. It was Emperor Valdris speaking from his prison cell. We warned them to run, he said. We should have listened to our own advice. The age of the Empire was over. The age of freedom had begun. And it all started because humanity refused to do what they were told. When someone told them to run, they fought. When someone told them to hide, they stood tall. When someone told them they were nothing, they proved they were everything. That was the human way. And now it was becoming the galactic way.